good evening. Oh, hello.
That's you all the time. You see, we discuss this, right? And it's like, good evening. And then you look at me.
Good evening.
Good evening.
KJ.
Yeah.
And we have someone real special in the building.
Yep,
As always.
Yes, as always. We are the Lounge Academics and we are decoding the culture as always.
Yes, definitely.
And just before we kick into it, as we always remind you,
notifications, subscription.
That's right. Yeah, so hit the subscription button, do it right now, and yes, hit that notification button so you are notified of future episodes. And of course, if you're listening to us, welcome, man, welcome. If you're on our audio waves, it's good to have you, man. It's good to have you. But look, right, as always, you know our episodes are always exciting, they're always lit, they're always action-packed. We always have famous people passing through, right? Instagram famous, right? And this young lady is no exception. Yes. You like, wait, I did the young, you like that? No, I did that. It's cool.
Yeah, we're all young up in the place.
This lady, right? As you know, we always have people from the creative industries. Yeah, man, this lady is a champion. I'm telling you. The work that she does is absolutely amazing. But
Who
you
is
know
she? What does she do?
Hold on. I'm gonna read her bio.
Okay,
Wait, hold on. We got a bio. That we gotta go through and thing. The bio's long, but we gotta go through it. Yeah, we gotta do it standard still. Yeah. So we're gonna do the bio because I think it's important for people to listen and hear where this sister's coming from. Okay. So, Shantelle has worked as a producer, line producer, CEO, actress, tutor and business and finance advisor independently and for other production houses, training organizations and corporate companies. Shantelle has founded her own training facilities, equipment production and post-production houses, and has a wealth of experience in most areas of the creative industries. I think it's safe to say you need to when you're coming up in the industry, right? You need to know all aspects of it. Shantelle opened her first 2 companies at the age of 22, which made high-end commercials and film and a training academy for underrepresented young people. Chantelle's worked on other European films as a producer or a line producer, such as The Rise of the Craze, right? Remember that? Remember Rise of the Craze? Yeah, yes. Man. Of course, right? Chantelle's also worked on The London Heist and most recently 2 Graves, which won the British Urban Film Festival Best Feature Film Award and was premiered at the closing night of the film at the Curzon Soho in London. 2 Graves will be shown on Netflix on the 1st of May. It's already up there. I've seen it. Right?
I've seen it too.
And also, you know she's family because you know what the British Urban Film Festivals, that's Buff. Yeah. That's Emmanuel and Seaguay.
Yeah, we've had him on board too.
Yes, he's had on board, you know, his family. You get me?
It's not just the Instagram famous, it's the Netflix famous.
That's it, right. Without further ado, we have Shantelle Rochester in the building. Make some noise. Yes, sister. Yes. Following that, she's like, hey, just
okay. I'm great. Yeah. What an intro. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
No, seriously, though, it's great. It's great
it's
to have you.
It's
really great to have you here with us in the studio. Now, you know, we're gonna get into a lot. There's a lot that's been said in your bio.
Let me get comfy.
Yes, get comfy. You know, but you know what? Let's kick off with finding out more about you know
behind the brand, how it started, behind the story. What is your story?
Oh gosh, okay, that's long. Let's shorten it. Nice,
from the beginning. Right?
So currently, I'm CEO of Ida Rose, which produced the film 2 Graves, and the name of the company is actually my 2 middle names from each grandparent.
Okay.
So I wanted to open up this time something that was a bit more close to my heart, so we could deliver diverse films in front and behind the camera that really told the essence of every story that we have. So yeah, this kind of more of finally doing all the stuff that I've done previously, working for other people, and kind of just culminating that into something that I really believe in, and my team's hearts and my heart is in. So I've kind of creative industries have always. I started off singing.
Okay.
When I was 16, 17. So I done my first tour at 17 around Europe. Then funny enough got fired from management, but that made me fall into producing because my mum wanted to get out of social work.
Whoa. Shantelle, maybe just back up a bit.
Why did
you get fired? What happened?
Oh, okay. So what happened was,
yeah, she wants to smooth over that one. You see her? Nah.
I tried, you know. I should have known with you too. So, I was young and dumb as you are. When I first got up on stage, I used to have really bad stage fright. So the manager kind of got me into this group. And we had to them days you could smoke in the clubs and all of that. So I wasn't actually allowed to go anywhere. And I was like, well, we're touring with all of these people and I'm not actually allowed to spend any time with them. And then I think it was Cameron and Jules Santana that was coming into town at the Scala. And I was like, we're invited, why can't we go? And he's like, no, because when you're smoking, you're performing next day, it's just going to mess up your voice. I didn't listen to all of that, did I? So I went down there.
The rebel that you are.
As I am. I went down there, you know, and obviously for some reason in my 17-year-old mind, I thought no one would notice when the pictures came out. And like, I was like, did you go out last night? No. Like you're talking to your mum. Yeah. And then the pictures came out and clearly I did. Oh, no. And I got fired. But it, you know what, everything's for a reason.
Definitely.
And it kind of threw me into producing because my mum had done social work for 20 odd years and she was just fed up of it and she hadn't really studied into anything else. So I came with my young self and me and mum quite close and I was like, why don't we like train young people in film and make film and programs and stuff like this? So yeah, glad my mum listens to me because that's exactly what we did.
And that's not your mum's background. Like you said,
no, she went.
She
went into Ravensbourne straight away. Got her first honours degree. Bless her. And we began the company Media for All.
So wait, hold on. So mum literally did her degree to study for that. Wow.
Yep, definitely.
That was a spontaneous moment.
I went to college to study. She went to uni to study. And we both came out and we finished. Media for All had already started. And then over the kind of 3 or 4 years into it, she won like European Businesswoman Award. We were in the Pride. We kind of done loads of kind of media stuff. And we became, and then we created a building with Learning Chester Disability called the Ability Media Centre in London Bridge. Which was like 4 stories of creativity, post-production. We had Avid Suites, live studios, etc. And I ran that and opened up the first production section. And that's kind of how we kicked off my first kind of passion into it. And I realised after not really seeing very many people like me going to all... So when I got fired, I really cried for about a week. And then I was like, what else can I do? And then a friend of mine was going to an acting audition. So I said, she was like, tag along. And I was like, yeah, I'm not an actor though. And they were like, well, if you're going to be here, you have to actually come in or you can't come in. So I was like, I signed my name and I got in. I actually got the part and she didn't. She no longer was my friend after that. But
that's how it goes.
But what can I do? I didn't know that would happen.
That's a well-known
and then I
story,
found acting. Yeah, I found acting and I was like, and I didn't get stage fright. It was the only thing that once the cameras went on, I wasn't scared. So I was like, yeah, this is great. But then I realised how small the roles for black females were because I was going to auditions and it was the same group of black females. There was like 20 of us at the same auditions. There was only one, God knows how many ways. And I was like, I can't live on this money wise. And then my mum was like, well, we've got the equipment. Why don't you think about doing something with it? So literally I just, the team I'd been training for about 6 months of young people, I said, right, we're going to make something and we're going to get it broadcast. We approached a few African channels. Ben TV was the first one that said yes to us. So we created a magazine show called Urban Echo. And it done basically interviews with unsigned and signed artists. We covered Fashion Week and I presented it. So it kind of opened up a few doors that way for me and for the other people we brought on the show, trying to basically just show awareness to the culture. And also it was really empowering for the young people because they'd never got anything to broadcast level. It taught them so much. A lot of them are doing some big things now, working for Channel 4, BBC. Wow. It really did open up a whole can of worms. And it was really, really good to see. And that's kind of how I got thrown into acting. and producing. And then I realised I was good at it. So it kind of carried on from there.
And that's where it kind of just, and obviously you grow momentum because you work on one project that leads to another project, and then
people started asking me to work on stuff as a producer, and I was like, okay, cool. And I just basically started to do that. I did some time at BBC Children's to kind of learn the corporation structures as such, and that was really, really good to see how that's got done, and I kind of just molded that into what we do now.
So what actually, I mean, for the benefit of those that don't really know, because I think more people are often more inclined to be attuned to kind of the directing in front of the camera, the creativity behind the lens. But in terms of the emphasis on line producing and producing, what does that actually mean for people?
Oh, I think, just to make a plain statement, I think producers are really underrepresented in everywhere around the world, because the problem we have, especially here, why we don't get so many things made is because we don't foster the producer. The director is the person that has the vision, but in order to get the vision and the money, you need the producer. And we don't foster our own producer. My own producers, and that's a big problem. I think it's kind of an international problem because everybody's, who's the director, who's the stars, what about a producer?
So that is literally found globally.
I find globally it's a big thing. It's a big thing that people don't really put that much money into, you know. And producing, it's like I kind of put it as like opening a small business every time you have a film. That's basically what you're doing, is you're opening a new business. You're a startup every single time. So your business planning, your finance planning, you're sourcing how to get this money, you're pitching. Sometimes you're finding a director yourself that's getting the kudos later on in your work. You know, sometimes you're party to the story. Some producers, I'm quite a creative and business producer, I'm both. Some producers are segmented, some are just creative, some are just business, some are just money.
You're very much involved.
I'm part of the whole kind of structure because I learnt the whole structure. But yeah, I think there's a big issue, a big gap there that we need to really start putting some money into our producers.
What do you think that's about? Why is there such a gap in that they're not fostered or cared for?
I think it's just an old, you know, we've taken a lot of the kind of American ways, and I think it's just the old Hollywood type of thing. It's the director, it's about the vision. And I think we've just taken up some of those things. But if you look at places, countries like France, who foster their producers, who foster the whole film process, if you notice, you don't need to go out of France to make a film. You know, you don't need to look for money outside France. They support their filmmakers, they invest in their filmmakers, and that also comes from the producer level. Okay.
Do you feel that's, in terms of the UK context, are we having to look outside of the UK to because I know you said France kind of fosters their own, but do you feel that's...
I don't think we foster our own at all, if I'm honest. No, we don't. I find that, you know, there is kind of one kind of structure and medium here. If it's not funding, and we're losing a lot of that at the moment.
Film Council, kind of.
BFI, we're losing a lot of that, whether it's because of Brexit or not. But they only have a certain amount of pot. We don't have many places don't have regional funding anymore. So therefore, unless you have enough money as a producer to start kicking off things yourself, it's kind of really hard to get stuff made just solely by doing it in the UK.
So where have you found, in terms of your experience, there's love, so to speak, in terms of supporting the vision, in terms of the UK? Where have you found...
what, from the UK?
Or in terms of like outside of the UK, where would you get other funding sources? Or
anywhere you can get them, all around the world. I find that I always say to filmmakers when they're looking for kind of inspiration to stay in the game is go to the film markets.
Okay.
I just came back from Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah. We saw on the gram. We saw commenting flames and fire. Sorry, we'll come back. Sorry.
I saw your flames and fire. So I find the markets. I remember I was after building the stuff with my mum, and we ended up doing a lot of corporate videos and stuff like that, and not really the creative stuff, because them days you could make a lot of money from that. But I felt like I was missing the creative, because when you'd go in a meeting, people would say, what work have you done? And you couldn't bring a corporate video, whether it was for Barclays or Orange or whatever it was at the time. You couldn't bring that as a schematics to say, look at the level of work you've done. So I found that after a few years after Urban Echo, I was kind of getting years on me, but nothing on the IMDb or, creatively. So I kind of got to a point where I was getting so many no's from the UK. It was just, no, you need to go for funding. I'd gone from every funding pot that I could possibly think of. The story wasn't right, this wasn't right. Now, I'm not one to say that funders, they've got their own decision making to do. So I changed projects, I went again, and this kind of went on for about 2 or 3 years. And nothing was moving, and I was just like, look, maybe this industry just ain't for me. And a friend of mine said to me, this was about 10 years or so ago. A friend of mine said to me, come Cannes, you used to be a company called the National Producers Alliance we used to have, we don't anymore. She was like, come, don't worry, I will get you a pass, just come over. So I thought, I've never been before. And I thought, okay, I'll just come, but I'm really out. And literally being there was what I was like, oh my gosh, the whole world makes film. And I know it sounds crazy because you watch the world making film, but it has been my first opener to the business of film rather than the creative, to see how people do business, how things are sold, what people are looking for, which then made me step back and look at my project differently and go, I can see why they said no now, and I can see why they wouldn't want my project because they don't even make that type of film, and this person does documentary. And it just opened my eyes that there was a whole business thing that I think us in the UK miss, because we're so busy with the creative part of it that we kind of miss the fact that this has to make money, it has to sell, it has to, hit certain markets and distribute and all of that. So it just opened my eyes. So I'd say anybody kind of feeling like they're kind of at a loss is go to a film market. Because
whereas you're in the atmosphere of people as well,
you
you're
need
immersed
it. And you get to immerse with people at a real high level that you'd never that you'd never get a meeting with, to people that are maybe lower level than you. So it's a good kind of thing. You get panel talks, you get to discuss your project with people, you get have a soundboard, you get books there, you can figure out if maybe UK isn't the place to film your film because it's of another country can. And tax credit incentives, and so you really get that. And obviously the Cannes particularly, obviously you get the red carpet and and the prestige. You walk past people we walk past Uma Thurman, and you just it just opens your eyes, and it kind of refuels that energy to say, well, no, actually, if the whole world can do it, somewhere there's a place for me.
Definitely. And this is the thing, because just a point to emphasize, I think we do, when we look at film projects or creative projects in general, I think we do get consumed and obsessed with the creativity, the end product. But I think, I have to say, from my opinion, the business side lacks. I think often people come with the passion to create the project. How are you going to make that? How are you paying your crew? Where's that coming from? Where's it being distributed? Who are your outlets? Where, and I think that really lacks. So it's really great and refreshing, because normally on the podcast we're hearing people who are often, this is a side that's quite rare. We don't really hear the business side, and that's why we were so excited about having you on to kind of talk about the line producing and the actual the process of getting funding and money.
The line producing helped as well when I was coming up before I produced, is because it kind of helped me to understand where the money needs to go in a budget, what you're budgeting for. And then you can, once you kind of can understand how the money's being spent and how what needs to be budgeted, then you can go back to figure out how your film needs to be budgeted. And the markets help you to also understand where it's to be sold. I kind of always work backwards. I work from where is it going first? Where's it going to be sold? Who's my audience? Who's the people that are going to watch this? Then I go backwards and go back to, okay, well, now we know where we're actually going to go with it. What kind of budget level is going to recoup its money with that same audience and that demographic that we're going to sell it to? And then I work backwards again. So what type of actors do we need in that? What type of script are we looking at? And I think that's always a good process to work through.
And are you finding, is that how you work? Because I would imagine people are obviously maybe coming to you all the time with projects, right? So people are coming like, look, I've got this project. Yeah. Let's get this. You're skinny tea because
the emails are getting thick and fast, especially since Netflix.
Yeah, I can imagine. Wow.
So and that's a good point. I mean, our episode is aptly going to be named "How to Get Your Film onto Netflix."
Oh my god!
Yeah. So no pressure.
No pressure.
But it is. That's. I mean, there's only other
serious.
than obviously Shantelle. The only other person that we know, as we know personally, is George Ponsa, who did the Hard Stop. Who did the riots, Mark Duggan and his murder, etc. And we know George very well, who's come on and we've had a conversation with him, and his stuff has also been on Netflix as well. And he talks about the years of struggle and stuff to get to that point. But I guess we're talking to Shantelle, talking to you. What was that journey?
Okay, so 2 Graves was a very difficult film. There was loads of ups and troughs behind the scenes.
Okay.
Kind of the first thing that, before I got involved in the project kind of thing, is when I wrote what I wanted to do, I didn't call it Ida Rose before the kind of company was formed. I was just coming out of a kind of bad situation with the last company that I founded. Okay. So I kind of just came out of that, and I was just in a place where I was like, do I really want to stay in this industry? Like another kind of turning point of my life. And I was just like, because I was so exhausted by battling in the last business, I was just like, really, do I really want to do this? So I went away to Jamaica for like a month and just kind of sat by the beach thinking, don't think I want to do this. There's many skills I could do.
Is that where your folks are from? Okay, right,
yes.
Cool.
So my dad's born there, my mum was born here, and her parents are Jamaican too. So I kind of just need to take a moment. I was really burnt out. I'd really been going, kind of raised kind of like £500,000 of investment. It was really my heart and soul I put in the last 7 years, and then so when it crashed, I was kind of like, I was really at a broken-hearted loss, and I just was empty. I didn't have nothing more to give, so I went away, see family, just to stop thinking for a while. And the director of 2 Graves was calling me, and I was just like, no, I'm not answering to anyone. I'm really just, because I thought it was just people asking me, what happened? Where are you? What's going on? Because I hadn't told anybody what had happened. I just literally...
You just kind of just went...
I just...
put things...
and I hadn't told anybody I'd left or anything. I just needed to go. He was calling me, and obviously, good thing about Jamaica is you don't get service everywhere, so... I was starting to forget. It was the first place I kind of forgot I had my phone, and you couldn't get service some places, and I was just like, I didn't care after 3 weeks. So I was there like on the 4th week. I kind of checked my email. Like once a week or so. I checked my email, and there's email going, "Where are you? We've been trying to phone you. Please get in contact." So I thought, okay, cool. Let me phone him. Phoned him. He was like, "Listen, I've got this project. We're supposed to be shooting in the next couple of weeks, and we've run out of money. And we need you to fill a money hole. And we don't have a line producer. Can you come on?" I'm like, I'm in Jamaica. I don't know if I want to get back into it right now. I need to figure out my next place I want to be, and I tend to try and find things that I like. I don't believe I've worked for myself since I was 18, so if I'm going to go into a 9-to-5 job, or even if it's in the creative industries and such, I need to want to love it. I'm not a person who's going to run into that, just with my eyes closed. So I was just often telling me, it's like, look, please, when you coming back? And I was like, well, I was planning to stay there another couple of weeks because I still hadn't decided. I said, I'm not coming back until I decide. And I'm quite a God-fearing lady, Christian. So I was like, God, please tell me what I need to do right now. And at that point, I think he'd sent me the project, and I thought, okay, let me print it off. Let me read it. Let me see what's going on here. And I remember the project because he came to me last year with the project, but I think it had male leads in the lead. And one thing I had ascertained is I didn't want to go back. I wanted to kind of bring some diversity with the work that I was going to move forward with. So when I reread it as 2 female leads, I thought, okay. So I kind of read it. I loved it. So I've called him back. I said, okay, look, I'm coming back probably in about a week or so. If this project is good, are you sure you're not wasting my time? She's like, no. So I jumped on a plane, then took a train to Newcastle to meet him and the other producer. They told me what's going on, and the rest is kind of history. I jumped on board. Then I became the lead producer on that, because the other producer had other things that he had to obtain to, and then it kind of kicked off. We started shooting, and Yeah, I was quite happy with the cast. Kathy Tyson, Katie Jarvis, my good friend Danielle Harold, EastEnders, back again now.
Vass Blackwood.
Vass, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, wow. Is that what Vass? Yes.
Vass is a good, he passed through for us. I was like, Vass, please come. David Heyman was lovely to work with. Josh Herdman was fantastic on screen. He just played the character to the T. Kedar. Gosh,
and even yourself, you have a little
yes.
When they look, it's like what? It's like, yes, I know Shantelle, like screaming at the screening thing. We'll get excited, you know. So what? We know what?
Straight face, serious woman.
It's funny.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. Yeah.
DI Inspector Simone Clark.
Too much because people need to go and see it.
Yeah,
but no, but it's a big project.
It's funny. The guy that played who played Finn as well. We had only seen him from the director. Good thing about Gary Young, the director, is directors I like to work with. He's very inclusive with me. So whereas I've worked with some directors that's just like this vision and that, you need to be able to work with director and the producer, because the producer has to go and get that sold and get it to these places. And if it doesn't meet certain criterias or it's too off what it's supposed to be, you've got a problem after it's done, you know, which is why some films crash and burn afterwards. So he's quite inclusive with the what do you think, Shantelle? He's very inclusive with me because we've been friends for years before we worked together. Yeah, we've been friends for years. He came on and taught some of my young people. We just I don't even know why we didn't end up working together. I think what happened was he was in town one time and I was doing a short film, and then we sat there and, why haven't we worked together? And then we kind of said, all right, wait for a project. And then obviously Two Grace. And when we saw a short of Neil Ward, it was literally a short that one, I think it was either the DOP or somebody said, look at this guy. And we wanted a bigger person for the part. But when we saw that, you know, you just bowled over, you just like, look, scrap that. Let's get somebody in a smaller part that's bigger in that one and facilitate. And he really did a good job of that role. So I'm glad everybody likes it.
Yeah, it's really cool. And obviously, you know, you got the Buff Awards for it as well.
Oh, yes. Manu and Claire. They're family, man.
Of course,
family.
Man. Of course. Extension.
Isn't it?
You see that?
Yeah.
They're family.
No, it's and it's interesting because I know we have had Emmanuel on. Mm-hmm. I know obviously we were speaking to him within the context of No Shade when we spoke, right? Which, do you know what, seems so long ago but isn't?
It's not
you
that
know,
long ago.
yeah, it does. But we know Claire, just in terms of the awards and stuff, just been just killing it with regards to that. But I guess it does. I think yourself, Buff, that whole movement does speak to kind of the underrepresentation, right? Whether we're talking about ethnicity, whether we're talking about race, or women, in front and behind the lens. I just wanted to know, obviously, I'm assuming, right? I mean, I've been in this a little hot minute, but I'm assuming that, you know, it's predominantly a white male industry, I would imagine, in terms of film and stuff. And I just wondered, what have you had to navigate, and how have you navigated? Because I imagine there's been shark-infested waters and
It's still there.
And gender.
Obviously I get it both sides, gender and because I'm black. So it's a double whammy. I've had loads of incidences like that. I've walked into rooms and maybe my cameraman's been a white male or something, and they've gone forward to shake his hand, and I've same thing with females, assuming that whoever I'm with is my boss rather than the other way around. Wow. I've heard people say they need coffee and everybody's looking at me and I'm looking at them.
Wow.
And it's
awkward moments.
So you're gonna get it?
Wow.
You know? How
do you like?
You gotta have tough skin, right?
I hear that, but where am I going? It's just because in the moment I know how I am, right? I know who I am you know how I am as a person, and I think my face gives away a lot. Like if I'm not happy, you know I'm not happy. If I am happy, you know I'm happy. Right? But I think in the moment I can get caught out, right? And I just, how do you manage that? Because especially for some of the young ones coming up, some of them don't have that tough skin necessarily. So I would say you got to remember, and again I take, even though it's a creative industry, you got to remember you're doing business, and you know people's image of you or what they think of you is nothing to do with you.
As simple as that. You're in there to do business. Your decisions are whether I want to do business as a person or not. Whether if you know, you get into some instances where it's going to get a bit heated for you, remove yourself from the situation, because we've got such a small industry internationally, not even UK based, we're talking here. When you go to markets, you realise how small the industry actually is.
Small world, yeah.
Yeah, so you got to remember that, you know, it's not the person that's jeering you up or making you upset that you're impressing. You're trying to make a good impression of yourself to everybody else that's around. And how you deal with those situations is a big thing when you're in any business. So I tend to, now obviously with Ida Rose, we've kind of got a step where we can start to foster our own creativity. So we can kind of work with, in most cases, the people we want to work with. So that's starting to come up. But there are incidences, no matter whether it's sales, distribution, every facet of film, you still have to sometimes work with people that you don't particularly like. And in those instances, I will ask one of my other team members to step in, because it's business, and you know what, he may not like my colour, or that I'm a woman. I may have to ask a friend of mine who's an associate to a company or one of the ambassadors, could you take that meeting for me, or could you have a conversation there, or could you just seal that deal? I've set it up. They need to talk.
But what do you do with that stuff? Like, I mean, because I think for me, no, I hear the business. I totally hear that, because, you know, and we in life, we encounter things, right? You get on a bus, someone don't like you because of whatever. We're navigating this stuff all the time. But I guess I wondered how, you know, when you have those knockbacks, when you have those instances, I guess there's got to be, I would imagine there's got to be people that you can connect to speak to
vent, curse,
to
no, definitely, no, I think slowly but surely I'm kind of building up that network of people that I have that too. Obviously I've got friends that are not in the industry, so, you know, I can always vent to them. I've got a huge family. So I've got 19 brothers and sisters. So
9 what? Do you say 19?
19.
What?
Yeah, so
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, not all from
Wow. Yeah, that would be serious. That would be serious. And hold down media empire. That's serious.
Good,
yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
wow.
So,
yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, I'm the eldest though. So
you're the eldest.
Okay.
Wow.
Don't take off the pressure. But it just means that you got other people in the industry. Also, having people within the industry that understand your industry. I've got a few good friends. Claire, Emmanuel's partner, is a good friend of mine. Daniel Howard, who's in the film, she's a very good friend of mine. I have a few kind of friends dotted around. Where I can kind of say, girl, you never surprised what was said to me today, you know? But I know it's difficult, but I think we have to understand that even not even as just black people, we have to understand that there are white females going in and having to deal with that as well. Yeah, and they're still making business. Because I always think there's a time to say what you need to say. Until you get to that place, you can't really say what you want to say in front of everybody, you know? And I find that as black people, sometimes we have an issue because we do show it on our face. We ain't got a very good poker face. And I think we're quite spiritual people, so we feel the intensity of it. And I'm like that, so I use my instincts all the way, and I always say to some of the students I teach and talk to.
Oh, so you teach and stuff.
I still do. Cool. I don't do it through Ida Rose anymore, but people still call me to kind of take lessons or teach or do some mentoring and stuff like that. So I still do some of that.
And I take it that's all within the scope of the industry of film and
Yes. Crazy. And I tend to just say, I kind of come back to more of a human experience, like use your instincts. They're there for a reason, you know. There's a reason why you feel an intensity not to go down that alley and instead of that alley. Use that instinct. Don't go down the alley and then you get into a fight and then go, but you know, you knew because you felt it. And I find if we use that a little bit more, it will help us to avoid those situations as much as humanly possible.
Of course. And to be fair, from what I've seen, because I've looked at your gram, I'm a big fan of your gram. Big fan as he does swinging on his chair. But in terms of your gram, we've seen like you do use a lot of visual metaphors as well.
Yeah.
Like I've seen like there was the one around with the mud on your hands and getting to right. Where does that? I love your little like the bank holiday banter. Yeah, I see all of that. I see all that. Go. We're watching your gram. We're watching.
Okay.
But it's really where does where does the motivation? Where does that come from to do that?
Right. So I can't take all the kudos for this. My kind of in-house team, there's Marvin Daly and there's Shana Daly Hill. Between the three of us, those have kind of come up with me.
Marvin's here right now, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
yeah, Marvin.
is.
Yes, King. Yeah.
And kind of Shana, I met. I invited on. She was the niece of a very good friend of mine. And I said to her, I need somebody to come on as a PA. She was like, look, my niece is great. She just finished law. She didn't know anything about the creative industries. I'd made too many mistakes trying to get people from the creative industries to work underneath me, and they just wanted to be on set. They didn't want to actually. And she just came on and we just kind of gelled. And it was as we were kind of coming up to 2 graves, I was just like, my grandma was really terrible before that. And I was just like, no, we need to get motivated. We need to be talking to people and saying things that, we feel and are really true to us. And hopefully it will resonate to the people reading or pictures and stuff like that. And we kind of just set up a plan, and I guess because they know me very well, that helps. Yeah. Because we kind of have some things prepped or schedules, and when it's not, they kind of know my thought process, or it'd be something I would have said previously that they wrote down, or so it's kind of, that's how we kind of culminate that. And it's really just kind of how it feels. I'm kind of a mood shifting kind of person, so
yeah, we see,
definitely.
So
we're gonna dance up and sing, and I'm like, yes, exactly. See, you know what I mean? I don't want to bounce and dance too.
You've got a YouTube channel as well, isn't it? So
yes, that's just started.
Did you do the soundtrack to 2 Graves?
Yes, I did.
I did. That well?
We did.
Is it
yes.
Anywhere
but here. Yes. Me and my sister.
Okay.
And actually, one of my crew members, Marvin, actually helped write some of my music. So we have a little writing team in house as well. So we wrote that. I did that because what happened is we were at an editing session with the director, and I just recorded it, and it got sent to me, and I was playing it. And literally Gary was like, that's the end song.
Wicked.
What, can we have that song? And I was like,
you really didn't expect it.
It was supposed to be waiting for the EP. I was like, okay, yeah, I guess so. So it kind of just came about like that, and people would think that I didn't actually set this up yet. It was an idea of mine later on. But yeah, so that's kind of how that song kind of came about. So we've done it, and I
think that's the thing around creativity, when it's just the atmosphere. When you create something, it just creates other things, and things fall into line and stuff as well. I think some osmosis.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think music kind of happened to me like that. We have a couple of secret projects coming soon.
Okay,
that involve
easy
music.
now. You heard it first, yeah.
That involve
Podcast
music.
Exclusive. Mention us, Mention us.
And it was come now. It was kind of like I'd been clearing out my a year or 2 ago. I was clearing out my attic. And I found one of my old business plans that I've written up when I was like 18, 19, when I was saying to my mum, trying to pitch my mum to be in the company.
Yeah.
And it was, and I just finished up our new business plan, and it was identical. Everything that I wanted to do then is everything that I wanted to do then. So it's playing out. But I'd realised how much time I'd spent weaving in and out of being unsure of myself, unsure of my talent, unsure of what I wanted to do, people kind of taking me on a journey because they could see talents that I didn't even know I could see myself. So, oh yeah, you're great at doing business, let's do this together, and it just takes you off your journey. Don't get me wrong, it was all a valid learning experience, but you realise you could spend your whole life on other people's journeys and never actually fulfill your own.
Yeah. Real talk.
100. And that's kind of where I was 2 years ago. I was just like, look, I'm in my 30s now, and I'm like, if you're going to do this properly, because I'm a person who sets standards to a certain level, I'm going to do it. Let's just do it and do it now. And that's kind of where I was after that last relationship with the company broke down. I said, now I'm going to do me. And that's kind of how it came about. I knew Reggie Kerr from My Ish Records.
Okay.
We'd known each other for years because I used to cover a lot of his filming. Me and my mum used to allow us to cover. He used to do her A&R for Def Jam Records.
Okay.
So I kind of knew him from them days. He used to let us behind the scenes and film and help us with our show Urban Echo, and come and teach and stuff. So I kind of hollered at him and I just said, hey, I want to get back into music. What are you saying? I need someone to manage me. He was like, yeah, come, let's do this. He's like, but you got to be on your game this time. He's always said to me, I've come back to him a few times over the years and everything's just always got in the way.
Not now.
And I was like, listen, this is not now, you know. So he helped me release the Anywhere But Here for the soundtrack. And we are just at the end of kind of doing the last tracks for my EP at the moment.
Wow. Well, come back now. Might see you come in front of the lens more so. You understand?
Well, my cousin's doing big things, so hopefully I can do some big things.
Of course. And you know, talking about being in front of the lens as well as behind the lens, I know obviously we've had the whole hashtag Me Too movement, right? As you know, what's inspired, there's the whole Bill Cosby thing, there's all of that's happened.
Serious.
How have you ever had to navigate this whole casting couch thing yourself? Has that ever been something that you felt that you've encountered personally in your journey?
So I haven't to the extremes of the Me Too movement. So I haven't had, but I'm quite a strong character. So I presume that anybody trying to kind of come with a certain level of respect, my instincts kind of tell me when to step back and when not to. But it doesn't mean I haven't seen it going on to other people. So it is something that the Me Too movement was needed. You know, it was needed not just because of the atrocities, the big atrocities with the Harvey Weinsteins and all of those guys, but it was also needed in the smaller camps because it is a lot of a boys' club sometimes, and sometimes also the awareness. Men don't realise that they're having this boys' club and laughing about women and doing all of this while they're on set and blah blah blah, and they're working with a whole group of women, you know, and you're kind of there feeling uncomfortable because with what's being said, and there's no one really to talk to. I had one incident on a film, I won't mention the name, but I had one incident on a film where basically, so I have a kind of rule when I'm working, when I'm doing film, especially when we're shooting, I don't go out for drinks with any of the cast or the crew or anything like that. It's just how I am. Afterwards, I'll do the rap party because I think to kind of lead and kind of thing, I think people get a little bit too comfortable in those set scenarios. Afterwards, great, let's go and have a drink, let's have some food. We can be the best of friends then and kind of cross that business barrier. But I find also being a female trying to always directing a lot of males as well, there comes a level that I have to contain and keep up, because I let that guard down, and before I know it, I've got somebody telling me what they think I should be doing rather than doing what I'm telling them to do. Which is, I get that a lot, where I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying, well, I need you to X, Y, Z, and they're explaining to me why they're not doing it in a very nice way, and I'm like, well, you are, or you're leaving the set. Like, where are we going with this? That keeps you going. Plus, you never get any sleep when you're producing anyway. But I had one incident where somebody, one of the HODs, head of department, came to me and said that one of the guys in quite the high creative team had basically tried to force himself on one of the females at the lower team. At and after drinks again during filming. Everybody's gone out and got drunk on one day off, and that's happened in, I don't know what house it was or whatever. So I'm kind of in the middle now, because I'm kind of like, all my superiors are male, and friends with the person that's been talked in this altercation. But for me, just not because it's just the females world, I just feel that there's a need. You have to do something. Like, I'm the person, I can't rest. I'm one of those kind of people. Once something's been brought to me, I can't just sit there and close my eyes. So I kind of sat there with another lady that was working with me and just said, okay, how do we handle this best? Because I don't want it to go on for an amount of time. So I went to the two bosses above the person that this was, basically, and asked them to come to set, and sat down and just said to them, look, this has happened. it can't continue. The girls are very upset. This needs to be addressed now, and I would prefer to deal with the lady and see if she wants to press charge, see how she wants to go. I don't want her to feel intimidated by being in a room with everybody until I figure out what she actually really wants to do. You know, I'm not going to force her to do anything, but I want her to have that space and freedom and comfortability. So we kind of sat down with her, me and a senior member of the team, and just said, you know, what do you want to do? Do you want us to talk to family? Do you want to go down to the police station? How do you want to handle this? Forget about the shoot now. This is about you as a person, because I think some people kind of get caught up and realize this is still life. Regardless of film, it's still life. You have to remember that people are important. And
of course,
this is just a film. You know, maybe end of your career, but to make a judgment, a bad judgment, just for a film over a human being is silly for me. That's not the kind of person I am.
So you're often having to...
Yeah, and we spoke to her. She said she didn't want to press charges at the moment. I said, do you want to come off work? Do you know what I mean? Don't worry about that. We'll still pay you to the end. Of course, we'll get someone else to replace you. She was like, no, I can carry on working. I said, well, if at any time this changes, you need to let a member of the team know. And then I had to basically go and sit with the other side of the team now and basically speak to them and say, look, this is not on. And the problem was that person was such an integral part of the film. The film couldn't go on without that person. So I was in a rock and a hard place, you know. So literally I just kind of had to, I got them to agree to basically push down the days he's around, make sure there's a spread of department, make sure there's somebody to assist the female that was involved. And it became a little bit of a hard shoot because of that.
Of course,
and in the end, I don't think she pressed charges, but I did speak to her like years after that, and she was just like, no, I really didn't want to. But again, a lot of females feel like that. You know, they feel like they're going to be tarnished as a result of it. I stuck to her word, because I kind of felt like we should report it anyway. But that's just me. My activist in me was like, I want to report it anyway, you know. But she was just like, please, you've got to do a duty of care to the person it is. If it was me, I wouldn't want someone to do it over me. I'd want to have to be part of it. So
definitely. And Shantelle, just thank you for just giving us an insight into all aspects, you know, all angles of the industry, so to speak, behind the human side of things and everything else, you know. We always ask, Shantelle, because we're coming to that time, but we always ask our guests if there's someone who they feel should be sitting right where you are to come into the lounge to kind of share their story, their narrative, or speak from their industry. There has to be someone who's living, who you're in contact with, who's breathing.
No spiritual
people no one-to-one business. But
I'm surprised you haven't. There's two people actually. Okay. I'm surprised you haven't had them on yet. You should definitely have Claire on.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
You should definitely have Claire on. And Femi Oyeniran. I'm surprised you haven't had him on yet.
Okay. Yes, it hasn't happened yet, but we're working.
Yeah,
and obviously in terms of
he's a Netflix.
Wicked.
Netflix.
Who can
film.
break? Yeah, exactly. You can break down a lot of stuff in terms of the business aspects of it as well. So it would be really great to have them on. We're gonna work that. out. You can hook that up for us as well.
I can help. I can definitely help. I'll try and help, guys. Come on.
Definitely. But Shantelle, also just to check in terms of socials, where in terms of the Ida Rose.
Also we have our new film that we're in prepping called Stolen, which is a South African and UK production, which we'll be shooting in South Africa, Durban. Thanks to the KwaZulu-Natal for giving us money. Our social media handles on Insta and Facebook and Twitter are _ Ida Rose. That's IDAROSE _ first. And mine is Sir, which is SIRR _ Rochester.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Shantelle Rochester.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cool.